Hello learners, in this tutorial we are looking at how to determine the mean and standard deviation for grouped data. We have a question here talking about 30 patients that attended a medical clinic in which the table of their frequency is shown below. So we will be calculating the mean mass of the patients, the variance mass and the standard deviation based on the given data below. Now, to be able to do this, we must know something. When it involves mean, then we definitely need to have a middle value for each of the class interval given in this figure, which will also help us to find deviation. So to do that, we are going to be preparing what we call the frequency distribution table. In that frequency distribution table, it will avail us opportunity to have the mid value for each class interval. We will have the product of frequency and score for each class interval. We will also have the deviation for each mid value, and by so doing we'll be able to calculate the mass, the mean mass, the variance and the standard deviation. Please don't forget to click on the subscribe button, click on the like button for more educational videos like this. Now let's go into the business. The first thing we need to do here is to prepare the table, frequency distribution table, that will involve all those needed values. That's the middle value, the fx, product of the middle value and the frequency, and also we'll prepare a column for deviation. So let me quickly draw the table. So from this frequency distribution table, we have the class interval as given here and the corresponding frequency. So the class mid value is the next thing for us to do. How do we determine the class mid value? We had the lower limit plus the upper limit of the class interval. We add it together and divide it by 2. For example, here we have 26 plus 30. When you add it together, it gives you 56. Well, then you divide 56 by 2. That will give you 28. You do the same thing for 31 plus 35. That is 66. Divide it by 2. That will give you 33. And we do the same thing for this. That will give us 38. Here, that will give us 43. We do the same thing here. That will give us 48. If we do the same thing here, that will give us 53. We do the same thing here. That will give us 58. Now that we've been able to do this, because when calculating mean, remember the formula for the mean is that mean equals to the summation of fx over summation f. So we need to find fx, that is the product of frequency and the mid value for each class interval, and when we get that, we'll now add the total of it. So here now you have 6 times 28. So with our calculator we can easily do that. That will give us 168. 3 times 33. So with our calculator we can also do that. That will give us 99. 7 times 38. We also do that. That will give us 266. 5 times 43. That will give us 215. 4 times 48. That will give us 192. Then 3 times 53. 3 times 53. That will give us 159. And lastly, 2 times 58. That will give us 116. So we then need to total it. 168, 99, 266. The total of this gives us 1215. 1215. So when added. Also, we need the total of frequency. 6 plus 3 plus 7, that's 16. plus this 21, 25, that 30. So now we can go to calculating our mean. The mean is equals to summation fx, which is this. That's 1215 divided by summation f, which we have here as 30. And when we do this, this gives us 40.5. That's our mean. So the mean mass of the patient can be approximated to, let's approximate it, the mean is approximately 41. So we've successfully answered question, the A part, that's the mean. The B part says we should find the variance. That's the first one. We have to find the variance. Recall that when dealing with variance, we need deviation. Since the formula for variance is equals to summation f x minus x bar all squared divided by summation f. So that means for this, we'll go back to the table where we are going to find the column for x minus x bar, then x minus x bar squared, then the product of frequency and the square of the deviation. So we extend this table now to accommodate that. Now we have this table. This is deviation. So in some statistical table, they may represent this as D. So the deviation is that this x minus the mean. Remember that the mean as calculated, the mean is 40.5. Don't use the approximated value at this point. Just use what you have gotten, which is 40.5. So to do that now, we find that means 28 minus 40.5. 28 minus 40.5, that gives us minus 12.5. You do the same thing here. 33 minus 40.5, it will give you minus 7.5. 38 minus 40.5, that will give you minus 2.5. And 43, that will give you 2.5. 48 minus the mean, which is 40.5, that gives you 7.5. 53 minus, that gives you 12.5. And lastly, 58 minus 40.5, that gives you 17.5. So now that is done, we square each of these, which you can quickly do that with your calculator. Square all this deviation. When you square 12.5, that is the negative 12.5, to give you positive value. So that's an interesting part of this. That will give you 156.25. The other part, 7.5, the square of it gives you 56.25. You square this, it gives you 6.25, which is the same thing as this, 6.25. Square of this, which is the same thing as this, 56.25. Square of this, that will be 156.25. And the square of 17.5, that will give you 306.25. So now that this is done, we now have to find the product of frequency with this. That is 6 multiplied by what we have here. 6 multiplied by this. So this is supposed to give us 937.50. We can try our calculator. 3 multiplied by 56.25, that will be 168.75. 7 multiplied by 6.25, that will give us 43.75. So 5 multiplied by this, that gives us 31.25. 4 multiplied by this, that will give us 225.00. So with our calculator, 3 multiplied by 156 gives us 468.75. And lastly, 2 multiplied by 306.25, that gives us 2 multiplied by 306.25, that's 6. So wait, that's 612.50. 612.50. Now we need to add all of this together. 937.5, 168.75, 43.75, 31.25, 225.0, 468.75, 612.50. We add all this together, and all this gives us 935, 937, 168 plus this, plus this, plus this. So that gives us 2487, 2487.5. So if you cross-check that, you can see that we're on the same page. Now that we've gotten that, remember we are going to need that for our variance. We then go to our variance. Our variance then becomes the summation of frequency and square of deviation, which is this. That will be 2487.5 divided by summation of frequency, which is this one, 30. So that gives us, when you do that, that will be 8282.91. Let's just leave it at 91, which if we need to approximate, we approximate to 83, but let's leave it this way. Now the next thing is the standard deviation. Standard deviation is the square root of variance. Which means we are going to find the square root of this. That's 82.91, the square root of it. And when you do that, square root of 82.91, that's 9.10 something, maybe 104. Okay, so this is the standard deviation. We can approximate the standard deviation to be 9, but we must show all this. So this is how we determine the mean and the mean deviation for group data. If you enjoyed this, please click on the subscribe button. Also like this video. You can as well share it with your friends. So till we come your way next time, keep learning mathematics.